Here are the top stories for today, March 25, 2022. The election fever heats up even more, with local candidates kicking off their campaign activities today. Some 18,000 local posts are up for grabs in the May 9 polls. Economic recovery on track. The palace says the Philippines is seen to have a robust GDP growth according to an international organization. Experts renew their call for the public to avail of booster shots as these are safe and effective, even as the country continues to see eased COVID-19 curves. And a palace official says that the campaign against illegal drugs under President Rodrigo Duterte's term is a mission accomplished. Good day. I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The election fever just got hotter as the campaign period for local positions in May polls officially kicked off today. For 45 days, candidates have the chance to court voters in a bid to stay in power or grab it from the incumbent for another 3 years. Stephanie Sevillano reports.
The campaign season for the 2022 polls just got noisier and more intense as local candidates tried their best to sway voters. Over 18,000 posts in the local level are up for grabs in the May 9 polls, with some 845 candidates having a sure victory as they are running unopposed. With roads and streets turning festive and somewhat rowdy due to campaign activities, the Commission on Elections reminds candidates the pandemic is not yet over. For COMELEC Commissioner George Garcia, they should take the lead in following health protocols in campaign activities. While securing in-person campaign permits have been scrapped in areas under alert levels 1 and 2, no handshakes, kissing and other forms of physical contact are allowed. The poll body is also cracking down on illegally placed campaign materials, except for those placed on private property with the consent of owners. This is in compliance with a temporary restraining order issued by the Supreme Court over the matter. To avoid allegations of vote buying, candidates are also warned not to give away anything of value. Teaming up with the Social Welfare Department, the poll body also seeks to protect children from the exploitation of candidates and to ensure that aid programs will not be politicized. With local polls known to be more intense and chaotic, the Philippine National Police is sparing no effort in securing the electoral process. This includes keeping a close watch on some areas in the Visayas and Mindanao due to the presence of private armed groups and communist rebels. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
Staying with the local campaign kickoff, the National Capital Region Police Office is all set to ensure that this will run peacefully. In a laging handa briefing today, NCRPO Public Information Officer Lieutenant Colonel Jenny Texon says they are keeping a close watch on groups that might take advantage of the busy season for their unlawful acts. Local police can also be tapped in managing vehicular traffic, which may be affected by campaign rallies across the region. The NCRPO has deployed at least 4,000 police officers to secure local campaign sorties in the region, aside from making sure that health protocols are being observed. The Philippine National Police has earlier reassigned police officers who have relatives running for local posts. It also continues to crack down on the use of firearms since the gun ban took effect last January 9, where over 2,000 violators have so far been arrested.
Hindi lang po tayo nakafocus actually, sir, sa ating mga campaign activities, kundi naglagay din po tayo ng mga personnel din po natin para naman po sa ating anti-criminality, sir, dahil itong mga activities na ganito ay ina-anticipate natin or talagang nandiyan na rin, sir, yung ating talagang pinaghahandaan dahil baka ito'y gawing mag-take advantage yung ating mga kababayan na gumawa ng hindi po maganda. At yan po ang ayaw po nating mangyari na mayroong mabiktima rin po ng krimen.
The palace once again warned the public not to engage in vote buying as the 2022 polls draws near. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Christian Ablan said in Malacanang press briefing that vote buying and vote selling are prohibited under the Omnibus Election Code. Meanwhile, the palace insisted that President Rodrigo Duterte has not endorsed any candidate yet, despite earlier confirmation that he has attended a meeting with presidential candidate Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ablan said it is only an arranged meeting but doesn't equate to an endorsement.
Bawal po tumanggap at bawal din po bumili ng boto. Anyone found guilty of these prohibited acts under the Omnibus Election Code face penalties of imprisonment and fine.
The Philippine economy is in for a robust recovery this year, according to the 2022 outlook released by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD. In the palace press briefing, Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Chris Ablan shared the good news, stating the country's gross domestic product is projected to shoot up to 7%. The figure is considered fastest in Southeast Asia, even surpassing China's 5.1% growth. This is still within the government's target of 7 to 9% GDP this year. OECD's report, meanwhile, indicated that the COVID-19 pandemic has also inflicted substantial damage on labor markets in Asia, particularly in the Philippines and Vietnam. The National Press Club, or NPC, gets the backing of the PDP Laban senatorial aspirants in its bid to scrap the Memorandum of Agreement between the COMELEC and Rappler. On Wednesday, members of the NPC filed a mandamus petition before the Supreme Court to block the COMELEC-Rappler deal. For former Presidential Legal Counsel and spokesperson Salvador Panelo, the MOA is an outrageous collusion between the COMELEC and Rappler. He advised the poll body to admit its blunder and immediately revoke the deal to save it from further embarrassment, as the news website is a foreign entity. For broadcaster and senatorial aspirant Ray Langit, the MOA is violative of the Constitution and onerous to the government. Langit, who is also a member of the NPC, says the poll body should not be bound by one media entity only. And for House Deputy Speaker Rodante Marcoleta, the COMELEC's decision to suspend the MOA is the first step towards a more consultative and bigger collaboration with the Filipino people in achieving clean and credible elections. More local government units welcomed the start of the campaign period by reminding candidates of the COMELEC rules. Measures are also in place to ensure peaceful elections. The details from Wilnard Basilonia.
In Western Visayas, the Regional Police Office is all set for the local campaign period. Police Regional Director Brigadier General Flynn Dongbo says they are working closely with the COMELEC and other government agencies to ensure safe, peaceful, and orderly national and local elections. Dongbo also directed all its unit commanders to intensify crime prevention endeavors and conduct COMELEC checkpoints across Western Visayas. So far, a total of 119 persons were arrested as of Monday, March 21, for violating the election gun ban. Meanwhile, a simultaneous unity walk was held in Malolos yesterday morning, followed by the signing of a peace covenant for secure, accurate, free, and fair elections. A total of 51 local candidates for various elective positions attended the event. Among the participants are Governor Daniel Fernando and Vice Governor Wilhelmo C. Alvarado. The event was spearheaded by the Bulacan Police Provincial Office in coordination with the Commission on Elections. In the Bicol region, candidates and their political parties are now allowed to conduct house-to-house campaign activities. However, they are not allowed to enter the household even with the consent of the owner. More than 3 million Bicolanos are expected to cast their votes in the upcoming election. For PNA Newsroom, I'm Wilnard Basilonia.
Still to come, the DILG warns local officials no use of government resources in campaign sorties. And the COMELEC says its decision on the cases against presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos may be out by April. Details ahead. Keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Hi everyone, James Deacon here. The COVID-19 vaccines are finally here, and the government wants to make sure the vaccines reach us. So let's do our part by making sure that we get registered to be included in the vaccination list of our LGU. You can register right in the comfort and safety of your own homes through your LGU's online registration platform. And you can also register on-site in the vaccination venues or through your barangay. Remember, getting vaccinated is the first step towards ending this pandemic. So let's do our part as disciplined citizens. Bida ang may disiplina. Magpakarehistro at magpabakuna para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government reminds local chief executives not to allow the use of resources of local government units in election campaigns. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said they have received reports of candidates using government vehicles, manpower, and other resources in their campaign sorties across the country. Año urged the public to immediately report these unlawful election practices to the COMELEC Campaign Committee. He also reminded barangay officials that any form of campaigning, including the wearing of outfits matching the political color of a candidate, is illegal. Año admitted that it takes time before candidates and other individuals with election-related offenses are penalized since due process needs to be observed. He, however, said exposure of erring individuals on social media can be an effective way to deter election offenses. The Commission on Elections expects the unbank ruling on the disqualification cases filed against presidential aspirant Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. to be out late next month. COMELEC Commissioner George Garcia said they are speeding up the motions for reconsideration filed by the petitioners against the candidacy of the former senator. They expect the decision to come out by the third week of April at the latest. The COMELEC 1st and 2nd Divisions previously dismissed a total of 6 cases filed against Marcos due to lack of merit. Meanwhile, Garcia said presidential bet Senator Panfilo Lacson, who resigned from his political party, Partido Reforma, will not be considered as an independent candidate in the May 9 polls. He said Lacson remains a member of the party he was with at the time of the filing of the candidacy. Malacanang says the country's COVID-19 response is on the right track with a continued drop in the number of cases. In an interview, acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar described the country's improved COVID-19 response as a vindication of President Rodrigo Duterte and his administration. Andanar is pertaining to the tough policies that were implemented during the last 2 years. He said that while some countries in Southeast Asia are experiencing a surge in COVID-19, the Philippines is gradually reopening its economy. Health Secretary Francisco Duque attributes the fewer COVID-19 infections in the country to the strong leadership of President Duterte as well as the people's compliance to health protocols. Data from the Octa Research Group shows that the Philippines logged the second lowest COVID-19 average daily attack rate in Southeast Asia with 0.43. The Health Department in its weekly case bulletin says the daily case average from March 14 to 20 was 510. The Philippine Medical Association vouched for the effectiveness of the booster shots for senior citizens and immunocompromised. In a laging handa briefing, Philippine Medical Association President Dr. Benito Atienza says booster shots provides a layer of protection against severe COVID-19 and death from the disease. For those who are still hesitant to get vaccinated, Atienza says they may soon avail of the job from their respective doctors.
Aayos po natin with the Department of Health and LGU. Ang mga gamot po ay manggagaling sa DOH at sa tamang temperatura ng mga refrigerator namin sa mga clinic ay mabibigyan po. Ina-assure po yun ng ating DOH at saka ng LGU. Kasi ang pinakamagaling po na magbigay ng payo sa inyo ay mismo ang inyong doktor kasi sila ang nakakaalam ng inyong health.
Various local government units as well as the labor sector are coming up with measures to ease the impact of soaring oil prices in the country. The story from Laid Kabagani.
In Iloilo, the provincial government will adopt alternative work arrangements effective Monday, March 28, in support of the fuel conservation measures of the national government. The alternative work arrangement is composed of the 4-day compressed work week and the work-from-home arrangement. The work arrangement will be temporary depending on the development of fuel prices. Meanwhile, the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines is pushing for a 418 pesos wage hike for workers in the Davao region. The proposed amount is on top of the existing 396 pesos current minimum wage rate, which covers Davao del Sur, Davao del Norte, Davao Oriental, Davao Occidental, Davao de Oro, and Davao City. Meanwhile, TUCP debunked the position of some individuals and groups that a wage increase is not timely given the possible rollback in the prices of oil products. The group says oil price rollback is temporary and there will always be oil price hikes in the long run. It also points out that if the substantial wage adjustments will not be granted, malnutrition will become more serious and widespread among workers and their families. Up north, the Ilocos Norte government through the Ilocos Norte Trade and Investment Center or INVEST has provided financial assistance to the first batch of informal sector workers and freelance workers in the province. This amid the ongoing oil crisis and the surging prices of basic commodities. According to INVEST, the 68 informal workers who received their payout were among the first batch of applicants for this year's Livelihood Assistance Program. A total of 432 beneficiaries are expected to receive their 5,000 pesos cash assistance in the coming days. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Laid Kabagani.
Up next, President Rodrigo Duterte's drug war is a mission accomplished, according to a palace official. And women power is very much alive. We tell you how a teacher inspires her students and pursues her passion at the same time. We're back after a quick break. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Mga kabida, hindi pa rin nawawala ang banta ng COVID-19. Upang masiguro ang kaligtasan ninyo at ng inyong pamilya, hanapin ang Safety Seal sticker sa inyong pupuntahan. Mapamall man ito, kainan, pasyalan o kahit anong business establishment. Ang Safety Seal ay tanda ng isang establishmento ay sumusunod sa minimum public health standards ng gobyerno para maiwasan ang pagkalat ng COVID-19. Ating tandaan, bida ang may disiplina. #SafetySeal para sa ligtas na pamilya, ligtas na bayan.
The Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation and Unity vows to further expand its mandate to sustain President Rodrigo Duterte's legacy on the peace process in the country. OPAPRO Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. emphasized the need to find more ways to sustain the peace negotiation achievement. This includes helping former rebels become more peaceful and productive members of society. The office also aims to turn conflict-affected areas into show windows of peace and development. Galvez is optimistic that the next administration will continue the peace-building policies and initiatives started by the Duterte administration. The palace still considers the administration's war against illegal drugs a success, despite earlier admission of President Rodrigo Duterte that he could not finish the campaign before his term ends. Acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar said the Duterte administration has neutralized big fishes including slain drug lord Melvin Boyet Odicta Sr., self-confessed drug lord Kerwin Espinosa, and Chinese drug lords, among others. Andanar also said it contributed to the significant decline in crime rate since Duterte's assumption in office in 2016. Moreover, the Department of Interior and Local Government reported around 75.4 billion pesos worth of illegal drugs has been seized since July 2016, while over 320,000 suspects were arrested and over 1,000 drug dens and laboratories were dismantled. Meanwhile, Andanar noted that the country's judicial system is functioning amid criticism over deaths linked to the anti-drug campaign. In Lanao del Norte, the local government units and the military are working hand in hand to eradicate loose firearms in their respective areas. The details from Arafia Kirama.
In support of the proliferation of loose firearms under the Comprehensive Law of Firearms and Ammunitions Campaign, also known as Republic Act 10591, the local governments of Munayan po and Apiaga po handed over 4 loose firearms to the 4th Mechanized Infantry or Kalasag Battalion of the Philippine Army. Munay Mayor Rakma Andamama said that they settle redo or family feuds in their municipality so that residents will no longer have the reason to acquire loose firearms.
So kami po sa Munay, pinagsisikapan po namin na unti-unti na mawawala po yung mga loose firearms sa aming munisipyo kasi alam po natin lahat na ito po yung nakaka-trigger ng pagkakaroon ng gulo. So umaasa po kami na balang araw din yung programa ng ating gobyerno is maatin po natin.
The mayors expressed gratitude to the military for their commitment and efforts in promoting peace and ensuring security in their areas. They also hope for safe and fair elections in May. Meanwhile, Kalasag Battalion Acting Commander Officer Lieutenant Colonel Joseph Marlon Famoso said that the handing over of the loose firearms is the result of series of dialogues conducted by their battalion in coordination with the LGUs.
Our activity this afternoon exemplifies the good interagency collaboration and cooperation that we have established with the local government units and stakeholders as we continue to work towards the achievement of peace and development in the communities.
Famoso also said that it is very timely considering that the national and local elections will be held soon. Moreover, 2nd Mechanized Infantry Brigade Executive Officer Lieutenant Colonel John Mark Competente also thanked the mayors for their tireless efforts in helping the military in its quest towards a peaceful community. For the PNA Newsroom, Arafia Kiram of PIA Iligan City and Lanao del Norte.
The government has once again scored on the fight against communist insurgency as Davao City is now declared to be free from the presence of New People's Army rebels. Philippine Army's 10th Infantry Aguila Division Commander Major General Nolasco Mampin said that government troops managed to beat President Rodrigo Duterte's deadline to make Davao City insurgency free before his term ends. The Army gathered former members of the NPA Sub-Regional Committee 5 who have decided to give up their arms and start a new life in mainstream society. Mempin said he was happy to see the city's ecotourism take off with the communist armed groups now gone. Meanwhile, Davao City Acting Mayor Sebastian Duterte said he wants to pursue discussions to come up with a measure that will ensure no former rebels will be discriminated. In sports, world-ranked pole vaulter EJ Viena and young golf sensation Rian Maliksi were granted Olympic Solidarity Scholarships by the International Olympic Committee. Also receiving scholarships from the IOC are Elrin Ando for weightlifting, Samantha Catantan for fencing, Ira Villegas and Rogen Ladon for boxing, Patrick Ku for BMX cycling, Jericho Francisco for skateboarding, and Allen Arcilia for wrestling. Philippine Olympic Committee President Bambol Tolentino said the scholarship grant includes access to training facilities, specialized coaching, accident and illness insurance, board and lodging costs, travel budget for competitions and Olympic events, among others. The Olympic Solidarity Scholarship is an IOC program aiming to support athletes in preparation for Paris 2024. As the world celebrates women power this March, overcoming cultural taboos seems to be a quarter-life advocacy for a woman in Cavite who happens to enjoy teaching and business at the same time. She said she wants to offer convenient alternatives for women and teach girls with grit in life. Stephanie Sevillano takes a closer look on her inspiring story.
From hair clips, playful earrings, up to wigs, 25-year-old teacher/business retailer Junley Vitangcol makes sure she enjoys her creative feat in promoting wider choices for ladies and girls. But she's not just doing it for mere sales. Vitangcol shared she came up with the advocacy of providing more accessible options to women down to barangay levels, options they need not be apologetic about. One of these is menstrual cups, which is still seen to be underrated in the country. Its use is said to be hindered by cultural taboos, particularly on issues of insertion and virginity. Yet the United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, has included it in the list of menstrual materials needed to be supported and developed.
Pag gumagamit ka ng menstrual cup, hindi ka na buwan-buwan bibili. Tapos, syempre mababawasan yung expenses mo at nakakatulong ka pa sa kalikasan kasi nakakapagbawas tayo ng mga waste. Naniniwala po kasi ako na may mga product na talagang kapaki-pakinabang na sana matry or makilala ng mga kababaihan kasi pwede na itong baguhin yung lifestyle nila.
With her sales hobby, the math teacher also hopes to inspire girls to explore their talent and learn practical skills.
Ang gusto kong matutuhan ng mga kabataan sa akin, lalo na yung mga young girls, ay yung skills ng selling. Yung selling napaka-practical way niya para i-practice yung critical thinking. Kasi kapag nagtitinda ka, you analyze the market and the people. You do maths kasi nagko-compute ka eh.
Amid gender boundaries yet needed to be torn down in the society, Vitangcol is grateful for the support she's been receiving from her very own educational institution family.
Napakasipag natin ngayong panahon ng pandemya kasi talagang itinatawid natin yung edukasyon. Kaya kahit napakarami ng ginagawa natin, huwag tayo magpapastress. Huwag kalilimutan na mag-ayos pa rin ng sarili.
For PNA Newsroom, I am Stephanie Sevillano.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The election fever heats up even more, with local candidates kicking off their campaign activities today. Some 18,000 local posts are up for grabs in the May 9 polls. Economic recovery on track. The palace says the Philippines is seen to have a robust GDP growth according to an international organization. Experts renew their call for the public to avail of booster shots as these are safe and effective, even as the country continues to see eased COVID-19 curves. And a palace official says that the campaign against illegal drugs under President Rodrigo Duterte's term is a mission accomplished. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields. Wash your hands often. Practice safe physical distancing. Go out only for essential reasons. And get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. You may also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I'm Marita Muaje. Stay safe and have a good day.